For me, coming into this job 3 years ago, I had so much to learn about the industry, but it was the most shocking part of this industry.
This is the Good Influencer podcast with Julia Markham and Becca McLeod, pulling back the curtain of how this multi-billion-dollar industry works. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.
All right, welcome back to the Good Influencer podcast. Today, I think we're going to be talking about a really hot topic. Is that right, Becca?
We are. And I had a little smirk on my face as I was writing the outline because I just knew it was going to be so good.
I'm nervous but excited to talk about this.
It's going to be great. I think it's something that needs to be discussed because for me, coming into this job 3 years ago, I had so much to learn about the industry, but it was the most shocking part of this industry to me. Like, of everything I had to learn, everything I did learn coming in and immersing myself into this space, it shocked me the most. We're going to talk about negativity and getting canceled. And I want to start off the conversation talking about the brand side, because something we're seeing even more is a trend of brands under the public microscope as much as influencers are. Recently, the company Happiest was canceled for asking a mom whose baby tragically passed to send the bassinet back that they'd gifted her, which is making huge headlines right now, obviously. We also saw this with Daily Harvest. A few years ago, they were canceled when an influencer was hospitalized due to their product. Chomps is going through a recall right now, which is only being made more public and bigger by influencers talking about it who had once promoted their product. What is your take on this kind of surge of brands being canceled and held accountable in such a public way?
Here's the thing. Public discourse is just so prevalent right now. Everyone can take, things that in some cases are incredibly horrible. The bassinet being asked to be given back by a mother who lost her baby, terrible. They can blow it up. And that is a super scary time to be a brand because you have to be so careful in your steps. In my opinion, food recalls and things like that, that's a common thing. That happens all the time. It's as an influencer, am I going to be promoting Chomps right now? No, because it might not be safe. But as a user of and a consumer of Chomps, I feel I'm going to follow the recall and I'm still going to be eating Chomps. And we were a part of the influencers that used to promote Daily Harvest. Just naturally, it was a product that we were using. And honestly, I'll back up for just a second because a lot of times this is how our sponsorships go. I use something organically in my life. They catch wind that I use it and they reach out and want to sponsor us. And so it's a natural fit. I do remember when Daily Harvest got under fire for some of the health concerns that people were having with it. We paused on our sponsorship because I didn't want to be a part of people having a health issue. Obviously it wouldn't be for me, but I also didn't want to promote something until things cooled off a bit. I think that brands make mistakes, and I totally understand if you are someone that is trying to reach a brand for a mistake that they've made. I feel like I am behind you for that. I don't believe in cancel culture, though. I mean, I've been tried to be canceled many times. People have tried to cancel me a ton in the past. Looking back, I can't believe I made it through those times. From the brand side, unfortunately, that's just life now. Every mistake that happens, it's going to be broadcasted on social media. And that should just be a part of what you should expect. And at the same time, it is my belief that you cannot be canceled unless you let yourself be canceled, unless you give up.
That is such a good point. Because like, you can come back from it. You can come back from negativity online. I think being canceled is just never coming back. It's giving up.
Right. It's giving up. And I think that some people should take a break? Yes. Take a break, regroup, think about where you went wrong. Is a public apology always needed? No. I sometimes think public apologies draw more attention to the issue. And sometimes I hear the apology and I'm hearing about the issue for the first time. I was like, I didn't even know that this happened. I'll bring this back to influencers. If you feel like you're catching a lot of heat for something and you're like, I need to make a public apology, think twice.
I saw this post actually from the Every Girl yesterday talking about how you are the curator of your own algorithm. And people are so quick to have negative feelings towards an influencer or a brand and want to like publicize it so much and make everybody else glom on and be outspoken about it. But what that does is it just brings more publicity to the brand. We just saw this with Poppy. People wanted to cancel Poppy, but what did it do? It just boomed their sales. And so instead of being so public about canceling them, curate your algorithm to the brands and the influencers you really stand by. If there is someone you don't stand by for whatever reason, stop buying from them, stop following them, stop engaging, because the more you do that, it's only helping them.
Yeah. Yeah. And you might be approached by a brand who has undergone a scandal, and you have to use your judgment about what brands you align with. Brands should have judgment about who they're working with, and you as an influencer need to also be really careful about what brands you want to align with. Daily Harvest, just as an update, they're still in business. Chomps, still in business. I think it's too soon to tell about the bassinet business, but there are setbacks, and these setbacks used to just be financial. I know like Daily Harvest, they agreed to like an over $7 million class action lawsuit settlement to resolve the claims that the French lentil and leek crumbles caused food poisoning. So that's what happened legally. There was a settlement, but now it's so crazy that these days there's a legal and financial settlement, and then there's also has to be this social settlement for people to feel good, and everyone's entitled to act and do as they please. Like, that's just a part of it these days.
Right. There's a lot people don't see. People don't see, like, every time a sponsor comes in, there's the weight of, is this a brand we align with? Do I really like their product? Like, there is so much thought that goes into it. And so I think, people obviously need to consider that. Speaking of negativity, kind of moving into the influencer realm and away from brands, we got talking in the office this week about negative comments and DMs, and how many followers did you have when you started noticing that number of negativity or like negative DMs kind of creeping up?
I think it was really different back in the day versus now, because back in the day, your content really was not served to people that didn't follow you. And so I felt like I was in a safe haven up to 100,000 followers. I was like, I never received negativity. And then at 100,000 followers, things started trickling into my DMs and into my comments. And that's when I started just realizing it's a part of the business. And I know people are like, it shouldn't be. Well, it is. Like, you saying it shouldn't be, that doesn't change it is. And you saying it's trolls or it's their low lives. No, these are like mothers. These are lawyers. These are teachers. These are people that go to church, someone's wife. And I'm saying mother, wife, because a lot of these are women. And I always tell Chris, it's like, women are always like, women empower women. And it's actually, we have to just remind ourselves that over and over, because it's usually the women that are taking down other women. And it's sadly just a part of it. And I think it's gotten so much worse because now the algorithm is pushing you out to people that don't follow you. And so it's kind of cool because I can see if I'm seeing an increase in negativity in my DMs, I can look at the content I've posted, and Instagram will tell you which percentage of it is going out to non-followers. If my content is seen by 60% non-followers, I can expect an increase in negativity. These people don't know me. They don't know my backstory. They don't know who I am. And they are just seeing something and reacting. And that actually brings me a lot of comfort because I'm like, well, they don't know who I am. It's actually way more hurtful when I see this is a follower who's bringing the negativity. And that's when you can take action. But it's the people that you feel like know you that makes it difficult to swallow a lot more.
Yeah, especially in 2025 when people who have, let's say, 1,000 followers post a reel that goes viral and they start getting negativity around it. It is like kind of a shock to them. Did you ever have that shock, or did it creep up slowly that it felt kind of par for the course almost?
That's a really good question. A little backstory about me is I was an art major in college, and one of our weekly assignments, you had to hang your work up on the wall, the whole class, all along every wall. And we spent the 3 hours of that class in critique. Once a week, you have the critique, and you put it up, and one by one, you have to go through each person's work and you have to critique it out loud in front of the whole class. Your teacher's also critiquing your work. They're telling you improvements that they think that you could make on it, where you went wrong. I'll never forget once I spent like 45 hours on a drawing and it got torn apart. And so I'm telling you this because I have thick skin and I'm very used to feedback and criticism. I do think that there is a difference between criticism and malicious comments, and we have a policy in place for that. And I can tell the difference. I think there are times, I don't know if they align with hormones or what. There are times when I can take it a lot better than others. There are times where it actually gets me down, and there are times where I can laugh it off. And I wish it was more consistent, but that's also why, like, I have people in my real life that build me up, that have my back, that I can talk about these things with, because going online and saying, man, you guys are tearing me down. Maybe it's just my personality, but I would never let them see that side of me. Becca and I love chatting with you every week, but in between the podcast episodes, we're hanging out in our influencer mastermind. With a good influencer subscription, you get access to our exclusive course library designed to help you build your business as an influencer, and our mastermind forum on Facebook. This is your place to ask questions, network, and workshop. Here you can receive feedback from thousands of other influencers and our team. Listeners get 30% off their monthly subscription by using the code podcast at checkout. See you in the mastermind.
Is there do you notice a particular trigger? Because I can say, having worked for you for some time and getting to know you, I can see that there are times when comments get to you more. Is there a specific trigger, or do you feel like just over time, it's just a very natural thing that you just react a little more to it?
There's absolutely specific triggers, and I think it goes both ways. I'll say this. I'm a working mom. I started this when I was pregnant with our first daughter, so that's always been a part of our lives. I'm a working mom, and I get most triggered when people attack anything about me being a bad mom, anything about motherhood, my kids, or myself, my looks. I obviously take that the hardest, one, because that's not my niche, that's not what I'm focused on, but two, those are obviously areas of insecurity. Do I think I'm a good mom? Yes. Do I always, as a mom, have this guilt that I'm working and I could be with my kids more and, all of this stuff? Yes. So there is a little bit of insecurity there. And so those kind of comments obviously do hurt the most. When people attack the way I look, there are insecurities there. So those comments hurt most. I have the thickest skin about someone hating my paint color or what pattern I chose. Those things I don't care about because I have no insecurities there. I have no insecurities about home design, about home decor, about anything I do with my home. There's zero insecurities. I am confident. I always recommend influencers do not put out any sort of content that you cannot take heat about, because no matter what you post, there's going to be negativity around that. So my kids are not a part of my content. And that honestly makes people probably assume more negative things about my motherhood because they don't see my kids as much. But that also protects them and it protects me from that kind of open criticism more. And I also have to let those criticisms go because they don't know that part of my life. And I'm okay with that. So I always, always, always recommend be so careful on what you choose your niche to be, because whatever that niche is, you are opening up for criticism there. And goodness, I would never be a fitness influencer. I could never do it. I have too many insecurities around that.
Well, and there really is no winning, because people will ask you where your kids are. And at the same time, if you put your kids in front of the camera, they'll say, well, now you're exploiting your kids for views. There's no winning no matter what side you take. I just had a mentorship call with somebody yesterday who was like really wanting to go the lifestyle route. And I was like, I just want to let you know that you will never be able to please everyone. Nobody's going to align wholly with your cooking and how you mother your kids and your home and your fashion. And so trying to be everything for everyone in those realms, you're opening yourself up for a lot of negativity in those spaces. Not to say you should let negativity rule everything you do, but it can be debilitating if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, I think, can I just bring up Ballerina Farm?
Of course, anytime.
I admire her so much for her ability. Now, I don't know her personally. I've never talked to her. Hannah, let's chat. I've never talked to her, but from the outside looking in and seeing the negativity that comes in spurts and waves for her, she never addresses it. She never, from my view, shifts. She is who she is. And I think above all, I think that's the most important thing about being an influencer is you cannot self-censor yourself to fit a mold that you think other people want you to be. You have to be yourself, because for longevity purposes, how can you act like someone else for how long? You can't self-censor and be like, oh, I don't want to show this because what if people think this? You just have to be authentic and have a policy for what you're going to do when negativity does arise, because it will. So let me just briefly go over what our policy is. And this was probably written during a time of high negativity in the online scape. And I was like, how are we going to get through this? We have to have a policy in place. So here's our policy. Chris Loves Julia is a home design platform dedicated to inspiring others to love where they live. The designs are the work of Julia Markham, whose goal is to empower her audience to make decisions for their own homes that are rooted in happiness and fulfillment. We accept criticisms, that is, disapproval based on judgments of the merit and fault in our posts, so long as they are on topic and lacking malice. Malicious comments, that is, comments that are mean, insulting, and may attack the character of our brand, will be deleted. If the perceived intent of the comment is to inflict emotional distress on our team and at times draw attention to the commenter, these commenters will be restricted or blocked. We also delete comments that fall under trolling, that is, mocking or discrediting discussion participants. inciting and escalating arguments, and spreading bad advice and false information. Repeat offenders are restricted and or blocked. Because this is ultimately a home account, personal attacks, even when presented as opinions, will be viewed as off topic and won't be tolerated. Period.
I think like the off topic thing is such a great point, because if you're having a hard time deciding, is it critique or criticism? Is it on the topic of what you posted about? Because if not, it's off topic.
Yeah. And to be honest, especially as you're building a team, like it's the most vulnerable, let me tell you, Becca, it's the most vulnerable thing in the world to have a team that, you know, are also reading blog comments, are also reading DMs, and they're like seeing people be like, wow, your hair is so frizzy today. And it's like, not only do I have to read that, but like my social media manager is reading that. Or like on the blog, my editor is reading how someone has an opinion about the way I'm so lucky to have married Chris because I clearly do nothing around the house. It's a next level of vulnerability. And to have everyone on the team be on the same page as like, what is our policy? And also to understand, like, if it's off topic, if it's a personal attack, we can do this. Now, I get so many DMs. I don't see all my DMs all the time. And occasionally I'll see one and it's like negative and I just like scroll. I'm not like deleting, blocking. This would be a full-time job to delete and block people. But there are times when it's like, oh, I come across it and then I look up and I'm like, this is a repeat offender, block. Bye. Negativity is a part of being canceled. It's usually a lot more quiet. It's usually a lurker in your DMs that is just like chopping away at you and your confidence. And it's like, how many times can I just peck at her until she can't take it anymore? And I've seen so many long-term influencers be like, I can't take it anymore. And I get it, but it's also like, you have to do what you have to do to be able to continue, especially if this is something that is supporting you, your family, and the family of many others, that if you have a team, you can't just quit. And so what do you need to do to keep going?
Yeah. And that's probably, you know, before being on this side of things, why it was so shocking is because people don't really talk about it. And on the off chance that an influencer does screenshot a DM that they got and put it up on their stories, I was always like, oh my gosh, that is the most insane thing. I can't believe someone would say that. But I assume it happens. It's very rarely. I see these things very rarely, so they must happen very rarely. And if you're not an influencer, I'm here to tell you it's not rare.
It's not.
But I can also assure you, Julia, I've never, ever seen a negative comment and reflected and been like, oh my gosh, they're right. It's always like, wow, this is a horrible person.
I know. And honestly, I was going to say, you know, I have my insecurities and those are the comments that hurt me the worst. But those comments are also coming from their insecurities.
Yeah.
And I know, like, people say that, and it's easy to not really believe that's true when they're giving you those comments. But honestly, like, if someone's asking or if someone's, like, berating you about how your kids' rooms look, they're probably insecure about how their kids' rooms look. And
so true.
That's just a perspective that I choose to take. And like, honestly, that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm here to help you know how you both can be happy, how your kids and you can be happy. And so I have compassion for those people as well. I receive negativity. Yes. My biggest advice is like, don't dwell on it. Look at the percentage. Let's say I get 100 negative DMs a day. I have 1.4 million followers. I don't know what the percentage is.
But they're probably not following you anyways. Or they're...
Let's even say they are. Let's say 100 followers out of 1.4 million leave a negative comment. I'm doing pretty good. Also, if you're listening to this and you have a fake Instagram you use to like check in on people, but let's say occasionally like you leave a nasty comment in DMs, like you are a bad person. You are a negative person. You know what? If I had a Finsta and I use it to like lurk or like leave negative comments on people's page, and Chris ever found out, like, I would be mortified. I would be like, divorce me. Like, I'm the worst person in the world. I don't know how people do that and like have relationships in their lives. It literally like makes me so anxious for them. I'm like, are your relationships okay? Like, does everyone in your life know that you're this person? Help.
And how do you find the time?
How do you find the time? Okay, one more thing to wrap up. I wanted to tell you about this page that I found on Instagram. And it was so eye-opening. Wait, were you the one that told me about it, Becca?
Which one is it?
Okay, so if you go...
I think it was Victoria. Credit to Victoria.
Okay, shout out Victoria. Okay, so if you go to like those 3 little hamburger lines on your profile page on Instagram and you go down to block, you're going to see a list of people that you have blocked, okay? I've actually only blocked 353 people. I don't even think that's that many.
No. I mean, it's been 16 years.
I feel like I'm doing like pretty good. 353, that's not bad. Anyway, if you scroll all the way down on your block list, it says at the very bottom, it says, you may want to block. And if you click on that, it says, based on your account center, you may want to block these people. And these are people that you have currently not blocked, but have been lurking on your page repeatedly without following. So I see you. Your name, I have a list of who you are, and my Instagram is telling me that I might want to block you. That's just your warning and like a little tip for all the influencers out there. I see you. I know who you are. How embarrassing is that?
We will find you. For anyone hate listening to this podcast, you're caught.
I already know who you are. Like, it's not, Instagram does the work for you. It's great.
Thank you, Instagram. So homework for anyone listening, spread some love to influencers in your circle this week. Like Julia said, sometimes there's comments that can just chip away at you. So the positive ones mean a lot. Spread some love, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Until next time, follow us on YouTube and Instagram at Good Influencer. And if you're ready to join a whole community of influencers growing organically and getting paid to do what they love, join the Good Influencer Mastermind by visiting our website, good-influencer.com. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.